spotlight session focusing on Osaka, Japan, part of Digital City Festival. This is one of a series of spotlight sessions this week, all of which you'll be able to watch back on demand in the future. My name's Jeff Bocock, International Trade Development Manager here at the Growth Company in Manchester, which supports businesses locally, nationally and internationally to grow. I'll be your host for today's session alongside our panel. We're joined today by David Hilton, Head of Business Development at Advanced Manufacturing at MIDAS, Haruna McWilliams, Head of Accounts at Tokyo Esk, and finally Matoki Kyo, Councillor from the Kensai Economic Federation. With regards to today's session and the overall etiquette, all attendees will be placed on mute and cameras will be turned off. But as I said before, we will be recording today's session. We would, however, encourage you to pose questions in the Q&A function within the platform, and we'll endeavour to answer those questions as we move into the Q&A towards the end of the session today. So with regards to the content today, we'll start firstly with an overview of Manchester's economy and its tech ecosystem by MIDAS. So we'll introduce David in a second, and then we'll move on to an overview of Osaka's economy and the tech ecosystem that wraps around that as well. And as I mentioned before, we'll finish off with a panel discussion looking at some of the strengths and opportunities between both of the cities and perhaps some of the success stories that businesses have expanded into both of those particular cities. And just rounding off, looking at any questions that come in through our audience Q&A function. So firstly, just handing over to David, if that's okay with yourself, David, from MIDAS, to give an introduction and an overview of Manchester's economy and its tech ecosystem. So over to yourself, David.
Thank you, Jeff. And if we could have the next slide, please. And the next one, please. Thank you. So yes, thank you for joining us today. In starting and giving an overview of Greater Manchester, I'd like to start with a key fact. Manchester is actually ranked as the top digital tech city in the UK, a combination of emerging technologies such as cyber, AI, data and IoT, where Manchester is top outside of London, plus affordability of doing business made Manchester the top city. And if you dig a little deeper, as you can see from the map, Greater Manchester is a large city region in the centre of the UK, with the largest international airport outside London and easy road and rail access throughout the country. It's the UK's second city, with one of the UK's fastest growing economies, and Manchester was named the best UK city for business by Management Today last year. In terms of scale, Manchester is, has a population of 2.8 million and an economy of £62 billion. We have over 100,000 students across our 5 universities. This means that high quality talent is never in short supply. And that many students gives an indication of the size of our academic strength, with too many specialisms to cover, but to name a few, there's AI, data science, cybersecurity, big data, connected and autonomous vehicles, robotics and 3D printing. Greater Manchester is led by Mayor Andy Burnham, who has set an ambition to become a top 5 European digital city region and to be recognised globally for digital innovation. He has also made a pledge that Greater Manchester will be carbon neutral by 2038, so that's 12 years ahead of the rest of the UK. I think the scale of ambition and the determination to succeed is indicative of the kind of place that Manchester is. Could I have the next slide, please? So digital in Manchester is a broad sector with strengths in AI, data, content creation, e-commerce and cyber too. The sector employs 88,000 people across the city region. That's 25% more than the next highest city. The digital, creative and tech sectors are the fastest growing sector in our city region, with almost £5 billion of economic activity, with new high value jobs being generated each year. There are some 10,000 creative digital and tech businesses registered, Tech investment grew 277% in 2019, making it the fastest growing tech city in Europe. Manchester has been recognised as the top 10 global emerging centre for startups, and it's the UK's epicentre for rapidly growing e-commerce startups. Manchester's also produced 5 unicorns, including Boohoo and the Hut Group, so as many unicorns as Amsterdam, despite having a significantly smaller population size. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in terms of market opportunities, firstly, we're a devolved city region headed by Greater Manchester Combined Authority. This means that you're dealing with a local government structure that has the power to work for you. We have pledged to be carbon neutral by 2038. This is 12 years ahead of the national target, which means that we need the companies looking to innovate and demonstrate products and services at scale to locate here in Manchester. And we've created the support agencies to help their market entry. With over 3,000 e-commerce companies and 5 homegrown unicorns, the cluster and collaborative ecosystem ensures the ingredients for success are here. Financial services comprises 20% of the local economy, and as home to the UK's largest regional fintech ecosystem, there are superb opportunities to engage and collaborate with end users. And there's an established manufacturing base and local initiatives such as Made Smarter, driving the digitalisation of manufacturing and offering opportunities for new entrants. Also, Manchester has devolved control of its £6 billion budget for health and social care. And we have a dedicated organisation, Health Innovation Manchester, who work with innovative companies to help and trial new products and services, helping get successful solutions adopted by the UK's National Health Service, for example. Next slide, please. So why Manchester? Why is it a great place for SMEs to scale? There are the market opportunities, access to multiple industries where demand for tech exists. 40 of the top 100 FTSE companies have a base in Manchester. The ecosystem, supportive and collaborative with strong networks and with teams like MIDAS and the Business Growth Hub on hand to guide newcomers and get them connected. Talent, access to highly skilled staff, recently nominated as the best UK city for IT careers. It's why organisations like the government's GCHQ or companies like Jaguar Land Rover have chosen to grow in Manchester. Then there's funding. Manchester is the UK's second most attractive city for tech investment after London. Its cost effectiveness, it's up to 40% cost saving compared to the capital. And connectivity, easily connect with the rest of the UK and internationally. Manchester Airport serves over 200 destinations globally. Next slide, please. So in terms of support we can give companies considering Manchester, well, firstly, MIDAS's role is to support any company looking to set up in Manchester, whether you're starting with a hot desking space, a laboratory, or a UK HQ or a factory, whether it's 1 or 2 people to start with, or 3,000 people. We work for you, we help find property for you, we help get you connected with businesses, with universities, with local government. We can provide data to help your decision making, information on skills availability on the market, on costs, even on schools if you're going to bring the family when you open up in Manchester. When you visit, we'll show you around, set up meetings, take you to view potential properties. And when you open in Manchester, we'll help with publicity and we can introduce you and your team to cultural organisations to make sure you feel at home. And our colleagues from the Business Growth Hub then provide a programme of fully funded support to help you grow and succeed with dedicated advisors, mentors, accelerator programmes and access to investors. So I do hope that this brief introduction to Manchester and the support we can provide you has been of interest. Please do get in touch if you want to find out more. So on that note, I'll hand back to Jeff.
Lovely, thanks very much indeed, David. Yeah, so lots happening in Manchester, lots of business support that's available there as well, and we'll certainly be coming back to you as part of the panel session shortly. So if I can turn to Motoki, joining us today from Japan. So a very good evening to yourself, Motoki. Yes, similarly, if we can just ask for you to give us an introduction and an overview in terms of the Osaka and the Japan economy and the tech ecosystem that wraps around all of that. So over to yourself.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. So please show. I'd like to introduce the Osaka and Kansai. My name is Motoki Kyo Kankeiren. Next slide, please. So I'd like to explain about first, about the COVID-19 situation in Osaka. The total infection cases is 63,000. Our population is 8.8 million. So it is only 0.7%. The total death case is 1,234. So now we are facing the fourth wave, and so we have suffered the declaration of the state of emergency, but we have never suffered the lockdown. And now, the vaccination has been just started, and we are waiting for the vaccination right now. Next slide, please. And this figure shows access from Manchester to Osaka. Unfortunately, there's no direct flight from Manchester to Osaka, but we have a direct flight from London Heathrow. And another choices will be via Helsinki, Amsterdam, Paris, Munich, Dubai, and Hong Kong. And flight via Istanbul and via Doha has been planned before COVID-19. Hopefully, there will be in service near future. Next slide, please. So Osaka used to be called Manchester of the East in 1890s to 1920s. The engineer who ran cotton spinning in UK established Osaka Boeki in 1882. The Osaka Boeki is currently Toyobo. Actually, I'm from Toyobo, and I'm employee of Toyobo, and Toyobo sent me the Kankei right now. And Osaka looked like Manchester, where Industrial Revolution was born. Next slide, please. So Osaka is one of the most livable cities in the world. So according to the surveillance by the Economist Intelligence Unit, so that Osaka is ranked number 4 next to Vienna, Melbourne, Sydney. The criteria of the surveillance is the stability, healthcare, culture, environment, education, and infrastructure. Next slide, please. So Osaka belongs to Kansai region, which including 6 prefectures and 4 peripherals. So as you can see, Osaka has the biggest population in this region, even though the area is the smallest. Next slide, please. So this figure shows the GDP of Kansai region and Osaka. First, Japan has the first GDP in the world next to USA and China. And as you can see, UK is the 5th. And the Kansai has the 60% of Japan's GDP and still larger than Switzerland. And the GDP of Osaka Prefecture is still larger than Hong Kong, Singapore, and Vietnam. Next slide, please. And we are now working on green innovation. Kansai has energy-related industries, including hydrogen and lithium-ion battery manufacturers. On hydrogen, so Kawasaki and Iwatani are working very hard on this field. And in the battery manufacturer, so there are Panasonic and GS USA in this field. Next, please. So I'd like to introduce about the inventions from Kansai. So we believe that it is a great invention. It is the first instant noodles in the world. It's the chicken ramen and the cup noodles. They are invented by Nissin Food. And Sushi Go Round, also invented in Osaka. And the automated ticket gate system was invented by Omron Company. The Omron is located in Kyoto. Next, please. And the karaoke, which was invented by Osaka-based inventors, Mr. Inoue, he won Ig Nobel Prize in 2004. And the automated bread maker was invented on 1987 by Panasonic Company in Osaka. And you can see, maybe you know that Nintendo has a lot of inventions. So for example, Game Watch, Family Computer, DS, Wii, and Switch. Next, please. So this is the famous, so this shows the famous entrepreneur from Kansai. If you are an athlete, maybe you have heard the name of ASICS or Shimano, and other companies like Nidec, Panasonic, Daikin, Nissin, Shimazu, Suntory, Horiba, Nintendo, Kyocera, Omron. All are from Kansai. Next, please. So we have a policy to attract foreign companies. So the policies are summarized on the website of OBIC. This includes access for temporary office and incubation office, potential grant money for foreign companies, tax reduction, and life support. Next, please. And this shows the must-see spot in Kansai. There is the Osaka Castle, and the Dotonbori is the famous place. And we have a Universal Studio Japan in Osaka. Recently, Nintendo World was launched in the Universal Studio Japan. In Kyoto, there are a lot of temples and shrines, and there are so many places to see in Kobe, Nara, and Shiga Prefecture. Next, please. Now we will have an upcoming big event in Kansai. One is the World Masters Games 2021 Kansai. Actually, so it is rescheduled in 2022, next year. And actually, so I'm going to compete in the rowing. So I will row in 8, 4, quadruple, and double scull in the event. And we will have World Expo 2025 Osaka Kansai. And recently, the logo of the Expo 2025 was unveiled. Next, please. So about Kankeiren, so our organization was established in 1946, and we have a 74 years experience, and our member companies are 1,300. Next, please. So we have 5 roles. First is to create a future vision. Second is to make a drastic policy. Third is to take practical action. Third is to force to guide development in Kansai. Last one is to boost international exchange with Asia and the world. We want to be the first penguin with the pioneer spirit. Do you know the meaning of first penguin? So the penguin, first penguin once just jump in the water. So other penguin follow the first penguin. We want to be such a first penguin. Next, please. So that is, so if you have a question, so please contact me. So and now, so I'd like to take my microphone back to Jeff. Thank you very much.
Lovely, fantastic. What a great introduction to everything that's happening over in Osaka, and great to see those areas of comparison between our 2 cities as well. They're just touching on clothing and the cotton industry, food and noodles, and the whole area of entertainment and sport. So that was fantastic. Concluded with your comparison of the penguins and wanting to be the first. So fantastic. Thanks very much indeed for that. So yeah, if I can just turn now to Haruna, and who's head of accounts at Tokyo-esque. So I wanted to introduce you to the conversation, Haruna. Can you give us a flavour of the support that you and your organisation has given to the overall journey of perhaps some of the businesses that have stepped into the Osaka Japan market, and perhaps just touching on some of the key drivers, hurdles, and maybe some of the successes that those businesses have actually experienced as well?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. My name is Haruna McWilliams. I'm from Tokyo-esque. We don't have the fancy slides with us today, so I'll just be talking to you. From Tokyo-esque, as I said, what we focus on usually is market research and cultural insights research. And those 2 things might seem like something 30,000 feet up. That's not necessarily directly related to exporting goods or opening up a new office. As a matter of fact, they do. They're very important to your journey, whether you're going to Japan or you're coming from Japan. We use this methodology called the market readiness framework. So wherever you are in your journey, when we meet you for the first time, we ask you about what you've already done in Japan, or in this case, in Manchester as well, where you are in the journey and where you want to go. And we do this through 4 lenses. One is a cultural fit. No matter what your service or goods are, it's very important to understand where in the culture, whether it's the business culture or consumer culture, your brand, your products and services fit. So we audit this and analyze this. Second, we look at the category you play in. So digital, as Jeff mentioned, and David also mentioned, it's quite broad. So if you're in IoT, even within IoT, what are your services and products? And who are the key players? We do have quite scalable and multinational sometimes these days players already in Japan. So for instance, just because Motoki-san showed Nintendo, and Nintendo is a very brand close to my heart. I grew up with the brand. That brand is now 60% foreign invested, which means it's a very global brand already. So we want to let you know and also find out together where you sit within your category. Third, we look at consumers or end users. You could be a B2B company, in which case your end user is not necessarily consumers, but we want to learn with you about who your potential consumers are. And if you're already in the market, who your current consumers are, and how satisfied are they? What are the unmet needs? Finally, conversation. This is becoming more and more important when everything is done online. So we look at everything from your websites, your competitors' websites, social media, to arrive at where you are in terms of how ready you are to be in that market. If you're already in that market, what are the things you could be doing more of? These are the things we start with, and we call that the market and the cultural insights research. In terms of drivers, people come to us, potential clients come to us, and they usually don't even quite know if there's a market needs. So that's definitely a first step we look at. Are there needs? How big are they? What's the growth opportunity there? Interest from buyers. Who could be your buyers or your partners? And what's their scale? What are they actually looking for? We look at those as well. And emerging trends. Digital as an ecosystem is where all these different emerging trends are coming up. So fintech, for instance, is a huge territory that different companies are looking at. So we look at what are the emerging trends in Japan or in Manchester and try to see where your company fits. Of course, there are supports you can get from the government. There is the biggest agreement that was done by the UK and Japan called SEPA, as most of you are probably already familiar with. We try to see what support, in addition to our support, you can get from the governments as well. Hurdles, usually it's resources and budget. Companies come to us, and especially this is an issue or challenge with smaller size companies where they're not sure if they can dedicate resource to go into another market. They don't know how much it's going to cost and how long it's going to take. So that relates to the successful outcomes that I am going to talk about. You need patience when you go to Japan. And I know that doesn't seem like an intuitive thing, the first intuitive thing to say, but it will take a bit of time. Japanese culture really values building a relationship, knowing each other. It's not just a transaction you're getting into. So patience is actually a virtue in this case. And we recommend our clients to invest in the preparation itself. Sometimes clients come to us and say, find us a buyer, we're ready to go. It's not quite easy and straightforward as that. So we recommend our clients to invest in preparation, whether that's research or going into an expo and attending an expo as a seller or a client. We are ready to help you there as well. So these are some of the things that we help our clients with.
Lovely, thanks very much indeed, Rooney. Yeah, it's great to get that insight in terms of what to support that Tokyo-esque and the businesses that you're helping to support can make a change for them. And yeah, great insight generally. So if I can move back to yourself, David, and just in light of your presentation around Manchester and its ecosystem. Thinking from a practical angle, what support is open to businesses that are considering investing in Manchester, specifically, obviously, from a digital lens as well?
Okay, well, I think over the last 12 months, we've all actually gone through a bit of a digital revolution, haven't we? And I think that's where we start with this journey, because some of the companies that we're speaking with who are interested in coming to Manchester, currently they physically can't. So we start remotely. We adopt the digital technologies that we've all become used to over this period. So we'll start off by perhaps connecting companies with a network of potential partners, universities, local government, businesses, potentially. The feedback that we always get, I think, from overseas companies is how welcoming and collaborative the people of Manchester are. We want you to succeed, and we want to help you do it because it leads to the overall success of the city region. We also run a program called Hello Manchester, where we've actually negotiated some special deals for small businesses that are entering the market. So that's discounted office space, that's membership of perhaps networking organizations, and particularly in the digital world, there are a number of digital networking organizations. And so companies can start interacting even before they've made the physical journey to Manchester, so they can enter the ecosystem remotely. The practical side, when you're setting up a business, you need to register a limited company, you need to open a bank account. These can have some hurdles when you're doing it from overseas, but we can introduce companies to the right people to help with that. And again, some of the advisors, some of the professional services teams actually have signed up for the Hello Manchester scheme, so they're at discounted rates. Then when travel is allowed, we help find physical office space. That can start with hot desking, but it might be a private office space or a lab, whatever. We help with training, we help with recruitment. And for innovative companies that are looking to do R&D, particularly collaborative R&D, once you have a registered UK business, then we can help connect you with access to government funding for R&D programs through programs like Innovate UK and UK Research and Innovation. So I think there's an awful lot that we can do to help companies make the journey.
Lovely, thanks for that, David. And moving on to yourself, Matoki, again, similar question. In light of the presentation that you've given with regards to Osaka and its ecosystem wrapped around all of that, what practical support is Kansai Economic Federation able to offer businesses who are perhaps considering taking their first steps into Osaka or even the Japan market generally?
Okay, well, so Kankeiren has a lot, so 1,300 member company, and the Kankeiren can support to look for the business partners from our member companies. For the Manchester companies who are interested in the Japan market. And in digital area, Kansai has a lot of infrastructure companies and also gaming companies as well. So they are looking for the new technologies. So we believe that there is some matching between the companies with the Manchester company. And I also explained in my presentation, Osaka has several preferential systems to accept foreign companies. So there are opportunities for the temporary office, incubation office, and temporary grant money, tax reduction, and life support. Actually, so not only Osaka, so in the Kansai cities, so like Sakai, Kyoto, Kobe, they also have such a system. And so we can introduce such opportunity and the service upon request from Manchester side.
Lovely, thanks for that. Just bringing in yourself, Arun, just wondered whether there's anything else that you wanted to add to that in terms of more practical support that Tokyo West can perhaps offer businesses, whether that be SMEs, whether it be larger organizations as well.
Sure. So as I mentioned previously, we do have a framework that we apply to understand where you are in the journey. And we also run market analysis for you, consumer research. As I mentioned, we really pride ourselves in leveraging cultural differences and cultural insights to grow your business. So if you take an example of, let's say, a digital service that's going to Japan, you might think you have a great product, and you probably do, but just by changing how you introduce yourself, even on a simple thing like a homepage, can make a different impression. So we would audit all your assets that are already existing, if they are already existing, and we will make sure that they resonate with the Japanese audience and vice versa. So these are some of the things that we can do for your businesses.
Lovely, thanks, Aruna. Yeah, and I think it comes back to your one of your points that you made earlier as well about businesses being sensitive to those cultural differences, investing time, really getting to know the country, getting to know their business associates, and just taking that time to do the research themselves, obviously in conjunction with yourselves and MIDAS and other support agencies as well. Brilliant. A question sort of zooming back out perhaps a little bit now and thinking about some of the similarities, and it's quite evident already that there is a number of similarities between the Osaka region and also Manchester, which have been highlighted already. But if we can just have a think about perhaps how do we feel that we can build on some of these current areas of commonality to support international expansion into either city. So with that sort of point in mind, perhaps if I can come back to yourself, David, to perhaps kickstart that particular discussion in terms of similarities.
Okay, well, I think that we have shared challenges and goals. I think we've got similar ecosystems. We've heard, the manufacturing base, the historical links, but there are current links going forward as well, and synergies around, for example, energy infrastructure. It's worth noting that potentially one of the recent penguins has been Kansai Electric Power Company, who have invested their major shareholders in Electricity Northwest, which is the regional energy distribution network operator in the northwest of England. So they kind of run the grid. And I think with the shared challenges that we have, a global challenge around climate change, for example, and the decarbonisation of heating and of transport will mean, grid infrastructure, for example, needs a lot of innovation in terms of not just the infrastructure and the renewable energy generation, but how the grid operates. And that's where potentially digital innovators can come in and link all the energy generation and storage assets and work with KEPCO, Kansai Electric Power Company, and Electricity Northwest on that kind of innovation. In fact, recently Manchester's been referred to as the Silicon Valley of energy because of the strengths of the sector around these sorts of opportunities around smart grids and smart cities. So I think that shared those shared challenges are particularly important. I think issues like healthy aging, that's something that Manchester is at the forefront of in the UK, and quite clearly Japan has a similar aging population issue. So we're addressing the same challenges, but I think we both have the same ecosystems to be able to work on those. And I think the similarity between attitude, the positive attitude, the long-term attitude, not looking for a quick solution, but the collaboration and the patience that Haruna has referred to, I think that that's something that's shared and that we can work together for success. So I think there's some great opportunities.
Lovely, thanks, David. Yeah, I think if there's one particular keyword that I sort of took from that as well is innovation, and both cities and equally countries, leading the way, in terms of innovation on lots of different levels, and as you say, David, some great opportunities in the future for collaboration. So if I can turn to yourself, Matoki, for your thoughts about how we can build on those areas of similarity, which were fantastically outlined by yourself previously.
Yeah. So there are two big football clubs in Manchester. I had some big news about the Super League, but so we also have two big football clubs in Osaka. One is the Gamba Osaka, the another is the Cerezo Osaka. Shinji Kagawa, who used to belong to Cerezo Osaka, played in Manchester United. So it's a kind of joking, but the manufacturing industry, especially textile industry, was developed in Manchester as well as Osaka. And both have a well-established railway systems and water transport with rivers and canals. At another point, both of us are far from the capital of the country and have different point of view on politics. However, we have great university in Kansai area. We have Osaka University, Kyoto University, other Kobe universities, and in Manchester as well. So you have a great university around us, and we have excellent professional human resources. Our positions are quite similar, and we may have a similar point of view. And so we believe we have a possibility to collaborate each other.
Lovely, thanks for that, Matoki. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of hot discussion taking place at the moment with regards to the European Super League and the whole economics that surround all of that. So a case of watch this space over the next couple of weeks at the moment. And as you said, the areas of education as well, which underpin a lot of what's going on within the cities, and certainly from an innovation point of view as well. And as David said, lots of positive energy that's bounding between both cities as well. So that's really good to hear. And finally, Haruna, your sort of thoughts in terms of some of these great areas of similarity and collaboration from your perspective.
Yes. As I learn more and more about both cities, both Manchester and Osaka, I realized that there's a lot more that I didn't know. I'm actually not originally from Osaka, so I also learned quite a bit about Osaka myself, and it's that culture. Maybe I'm slightly biased because we do use culture as a driver for growing businesses for our clients, but this cultural aspect is very critical. It's always about people at the end of the day. And if the two cities have similar mentalities when it comes to exporting or collaborating, I think that's an absolutely amazing place to start, because that's something that you cannot buy or build quickly. We recently wrote a paper on digital services in Japan, including emerging trends, and we touched upon 4 different areas: cybersecurity, IoT, edtech, and gaming. And Motoki-san has already mentioned some of these already, especially education and gaming. And I think there's something about being able to be a student, but an innovator at the same time. And that balance, that combination is something that's really strong and creates that momentum to be successful in going to a new market and exporting and collaborating. Now, on a bigger, more holistic level, SEPA also allows people to go back and forth between the two countries as well. So it's not just the technology and the products that you create, but IP and the actual people and resources that you can exchange between the countries too. And SEPA makes that easier for the two countries. So I really strongly recommend looking into this area, because it's really the people and the culture you create around your brands and your services that will drive your export and collaboration to success.
Lovely, thanks for that, Taruna. Yeah, and just taking a few snapshots from those overviews as well. You know, we are learning a lot, and certainly on this particular call, I think it's fair to say that you know, certainly across the panel, and hopefully you, our audience, have taken a greater insight into to both cities and the future areas of collaboration. Just checking on the any Q&A that or any questions that have come through from our audience. I can't see anything at the moment, but if anybody that on the panel sees anything popping through, please just draw my attention to that. Is there anything that is coming up in the chat? I've just not got that visibility. So if there's anything that a question that's come through, David, are you able to view that? I just can't have, I don't have visibility. Sorry.
I think there's a comment in the chat
Okay.
from Fumi, which is just related to the commonality of Osaka and Manchester as cities of merchants and down to earth. So a very good comment there. Thank you. Thanks,
David. Yeah, absolutely. You know, city of merchants, absolutely. Excuse me. Going back to the Industrial Revolution and the whole area of the cotton manufacturing as well. Great. So thanks very much. Just before, if I just ask Naomi, Naomi's actually been supporting from a technology point of view, so has played a great part in today's session as well. If you just ask Naomi just to bring up the final slide for today's session. And on that particular slide, just signposting people to the growth company, to MIDAS, and again, you know, have a look at the information that's out there. You know, in terms of our global scale-up program, our creative scale-up programs as well. David's mentioned as well the support that's available from MIDAS, and equally the support agencies today in terms of Kansai Economic Federation and also Tokyo ESC as well. So a big thank you to all of our presenters and panelists today, and to you, our audience, for joining us today. Really hope you've found the session useful, and wherever you may be in the world, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.